So some intrigue, I guess you would say, on Capitol Hill. Speaker Mike Johnson removing this fellow Republican and Congressman Mike Turner as head of the House Intelligence Committee. That raised a number of eyebrows, with some suggesting Johnson was just following orders, essentially, from President-elect Trump. He says it was just a House decision, though, not a White House decision. We have a Democrat on that committee, and Congressman Krishnamoorthi joining us from Illinois. Yeah, I'll put up, I guess this is the New York Times. So Johnson ousts Turner as intelligence chairman, bowing to Trump was the headline. Is that, how do you kind of read what went on here?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Two things. One, Mike Turner, he's a serious, thoughtful guy. He's a friend of mine, and he was unceremoniously dumped. That's an issue that kind of on a human level is a problem. But secondly, this is a national security problem, Connell. Mike Turner brought a thoughtful, objective viewpoint with regard to national security.
He's a conservative guy, right? Fair to say he's pro-Ukraine, though, and he's been tough on Russia.
Absolutely. And, he comes from southwestern Ohio. He's no liberal Democrat, but he just doesn't agree with everything that Donald Trump says. This is a complete MAGA move on the part of Mar-a-Lago to remove Mr. Turner. And I think that it portends bad things to come.
Such as, what's the actual risk when you see something like this? In your view, the practical risk associated with a move like this?
Look, Mike and I don't agree on everything, but one thing that Mike did repeatedly on the committee, behind closed doors, there are no cameras in the Intelligence Committee, is he held people accountable in the administration, regardless of who they were. And in the incoming Trump administration, we need somebody on our committee to lead the committee in holding Trump administration officials in the intelligence community equally accountable. This is very important. And so my concern is that if there isn't such a person at the head of our committee to do that, then bad things are going to happen.
I assume you're talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Is that the situation there, or Kash Patel at FBI? And is that who? That's it sounds like what you're referring to. I mean, do you think? I know you're in the House, but do you think the Senate even confirms some of those people?
Well, I've made my views known. I don't think that they are necessarily qualified to do the jobs for which they were nominated. On the other hand, John Ratcliffe, who is my colleague and friend from the House, I think that he should be the CIA director. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's within the 40-yard line, so to speak, of the mainstream thought on intelligence matters. For that matter, Marco Rubio, who was on Senate Intelligence Committee, another, I think, equally capable pick. But anyway, going back to Mike Turner, you need someone like Mike. Again, he's a Republican, but he's somebody who calls balls and strikes, Connell. That's what you need as the chair of the Intel Committee.
Right, and you mentioned Ratcliffe. I know it was in his confirmation hearing, he talked about when he was DNI, Director of National Intelligence, he'd done a lot against China, devoted a lot of resources, as he said in his hearing, to China. It does bring us to the question of TikTok, which I wanted to have you weigh in on as well, because we're coming up against this deadline where the app might be banned. Senator Markey was speaking about it earlier today, and this was his suggestion. Watch.
Clearly, there needs to be an extension. And my hope is that President Biden and President-elect Trump can, between them, find a way of doing so. But I think it's probably helpful that the president, the CEO of TikTok, is going to be in town.
Well, I mean, in town for the inauguration, one of the many tech CEOs we talked about last hour that will be at Trump's inauguration. So what about that extension of this deadline right before Biden goes out that would effectively ban TikTok? What do you say should happen?
I absolutely think there should be an extension. Under the law, you can have an extension if there's a meaningful negotiation of the sale of the company. There are numerous suitors and bidders for TikTok at this point. And so ByteDance needs to pick up the phone, answer the call, and start negotiating. And if they do so, they can then request an extension under the law. And that's the way to get the extension.
So members of Congress who are on the intelligence committees in the House or the Senate obviously are privy to more information than those of us in the public. We get that. And I'm sure there's some things you can't tell us. We also get that. But I've been trying to ask people this question is, how do you view the threat posed by a company like TikTok? Is it a potential threat, in other words, something they could do because the Chinese government could ask for our data, or something that we know for a fact is going on right now?
So we know for a fact that it's happened in other countries. With regard to the United States, what we know is that, as the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals said, Connell, the CCP has repeatedly stolen tens of millions of Americans' personal records and data, whether it was through the Equifax hack, the Anthem hack, or the Office of Personnel Management hack.
Right.
This is a loaded gun with regard to TikTok.
So they you want them to sell it, like many people do, I suppose, right? To Americans. So there's been offers, someone should buy it. But then how do you write a law? Would you want to write one that prevents people from just, as they're doing now? This week we had a story of one Chinese app in particular. That's what people are moving to instead of it. Wouldn't that be banned too, or sold off too, or not available here?
So with regard to any other app outside of ByteDance-controlled apps, the law provides the incoming Trump administration or any administration with the authority to actually investigate, determine for themselves whether it should also, come under the protections of the app. Mm-hmm. But again, this is a loaded gun. Let's not wait for a smoking gun and a dead body. We need to act.
Congressman, thanks as always. Congressman from Illinois.